She laughed. "I only married you for the visa. Once I get my citizenship next month, I'm leaving you for my real boyfriend." I replied, "Thanks for the heads up." Then I sent the recording of that conversation to U.S. Immigration with a withdrawal of sponsorship form. When ICE detained her at her citizenship interview, I realized that sometimes life hands you the kind of plot twist you'd expect from a bad soap opera. Only this one was my actual marriage, my 3-year-long relationship, my life that I honestly thought was stable until that exact moment when the universe tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey man, you're about to learn something brutal." I'm Daniel, 34, pretty average guy, finance job, apartment in Denver. Nothing special, but nothing tragic either. And until recently, I thought I had a wife who loved me. Her name was Rachel, 31, and I met her at a professional conference in Chicago where she was part of an international tech delegation. She wasn't American. She came from a small European country. Charming accent, insanely smart, gorgeous in that elegant, slightly mysterious way that makes you feel like you just stepped into the plot of an indie film. We hit it off instantly. Long distance for a bit, weekend trips, long nights talking about music and philosophy, and the kind of dreams you tell only someone you think you might build a future with. After 6 months, she told me her work visa was expiring, and she might have to go home. I didn't want to lose her. She didn't want to leave. Marriage came up naturally. No pressure, no weirdness. Just two adults making a decision that felt right at the time. Or at least, it felt right to me. We had a small courthouse ceremony. 2 friends as witnesses. Nothing fancy, because she said she didn't need a big wedding to feel married. And yeah, I believe that. She got her conditional green card. We moved into a nice apartment, combining our lives the way newlyweds do. Year 1 was great, honestly beautiful. We traveled, explored the city, cooked together, binge shows, had inside jokes. She worked remote, I went to the office. Life felt normal. Good. Stable. Then year 2 crept in and things subtly shifted like a slow leak in a tire. You don't notice until the car starts pulling weird. She spent more time on her phone, had friends I'd never met, lots of people from her cultural community that she kept separate from me, which I didn't question at the time because I figured maybe she needed spaces where she didn't feel foreign. But then came the secretive weekend trips, New York, Las Vegas. Suddenly booked flights, vague explanations, girls' trips, friend emergencies, and always a sense that she was present physically but mentally orbiting another planet entirely. When I asked if I could join her sometime, she smiled this tight smile and said, "No, babe, this one is really just for the girls. You'd be bored." And like an idiot, I took it at face value. I wasn't clingy. I trusted her. And trust turned out to be the exact thing she needed me to have, so she could exploit it. Fast forward to a month before her citizenship interview. She was ecstatic, like kid before Christmas excited, which at the time made sense to me because, yeah, becoming a U.S. citizen is a big deal. I helped her study for her civics test, quizzed her on amendments, threw little flashcards at her across the sofa, while we laughed about her accidentally calling the Constitution the big important paper thing. I had no idea I was essentially tutoring someone for a test whose completion would mark the point she planned to ditch me. I had no idea that every time she smiled during our study sessions, she was thinking about her exit plan. Then one afternoon, this is the moment everything shatters. I came home early with a migraine so bad, I felt like someone had wedged a flashlight behind my eyes and set it to high beam. And when I walked to the door quietly, because my head was pounding too much to slam anything, I heard her in the bedroom speaking in her native language, laughing, soft, intimate laughter. I didn't understand a word, but tone needs no translation. I stood in the hallway listening, and then suddenly I heard my name, said with this dismissive tone that made my stomach twist into a knot. So I did something I'd never done in my life. I took out my phone and recorded the last few minutes of her call. Not because I suspected fraud. Not because I thought she wasn't loyal. Just because I felt this cold dread that something was very, very wrong. And I needed to know what. When she came out, she acted completely normal, kissed my cheek, asked why I was home early. She didn't know I had just recorded the first crack in her entire facade. That night I found a co-worker, Aaron, who was fluent in her language. I told him it was a work-related recording I needed translated for a client file. He didn't question it. He translated it. And when he sent me the translated text the next morning, I sat at my desk staring at my screen like the world had stopped spinning, because she said, in her own words, "Yes, just one more month, then I get citizenship and I'm done with this parade." He's clueless. He thinks I actually need him. But once I get my papers, I'm coming home to you. He makes good money, but I'm bored out of my mind. I'll stay long enough so it doesn't look suspicious. Then I'll tell him it's not working. I've always loved you. He'll be fine. Americans always bounce back. That's the part that got me. Americans always bounce back. Like I was a stereotype. Like I didn't bleed when cut. Like I wasn't a real person. The rest of the translation was similar. Mocking how I helped her study, joking about how I was useful, bragging about how she'd fooled me for years. My hands shook, but not in a crying way. In the way you shake when reality collides with your self-respect and something inside you snaps into a sharper version of yourself. I wasn't even heartbroken. Weirdly, I was offended, deeply offended. Betrayal hits everyone differently. It made me cold. So I called an immigration attorney, showed him the recording. He told me exactly what to do. Report the fraud, withdraw sponsorship, provide evidence, act quickly before the citizenship interview. And for the first time since meeting Rachel, I felt like I had oxygen again. I filed everything: fraud report, affidavit withdrawal, recording, translation, timeline. USS flagged her case within 48 hours. And on the morning of her interview, she got dressed in a crisp white blouse and navy skirt, kissed me on the cheek, told me she loved me, and walked out the door completely unaware that federal officers were waiting for her with her entire life printed neatly in a file labeled with her name. When the call came at 11:03 a.m., "This is Officer Ramirez with IC. We have your wife in custody," I faked confusion like an Oscar nominee. But inside I felt something I'm not proud of but won't lie about. Relief. Pure. Clean relief that I was no longer living in a story written by someone who saw me only as a stepping stool. After IC detained Rachel at her citizenship interview, everything unfolded in this surreal chain reaction that felt like watching dominoes fall in slow motion. Except each domino was a part of my life I thought had been solid and meaningful, but turned out to be flimsy cardboard props she arranged to make her performance look convincing. And honestly, it was almost fascinating to see how fast everything unraveled once the truth came out. Later that same day, around 6 p.m., I got a collect call from a detention facility. And when I heard her voice frantic, desperate, crying so hard her words came out in jagged bursts, it didn't sound like the woman I married. It sounded like someone who was finally facing the consequences she never imagined would touch her, and I just listened as she begged me to fix this. Because apparently she thought I still loved her enough to throw myself in front of federal investigation to save her, which was absurd considering she'd spent 3 years planning to discard me like styrofoam packaging. And when she said, "You can't do this, we're married," I actually laughed because marriage is kind of invalidated when one spouse literally admits on a recorded call that the whole thing was a visa scam. I reminded her I had the recording, the translation, the timeline, everything, and that I'd already withdrawn sponsorship legally and permanently. But she kept insisting she loved me. She loved our life. She made a mistake. She didn't mean it. She was stressed. She didn't know what she was saying. She only said it because she was confused. But when I asked her the simplest question, "Who was the man you told you loved?" she went silent for the longest 10 seconds I've ever experienced. And in those 10 seconds, every lingering shred of doubt I had evaporated. She finally whispered. It was nothing, which was as pathetic as it was unbelievable, and I ended the call with, "Good luck at your hearing," then hung up and blocked the number, because I refused to let emotional manipulation be part of my life anymore. The next week brought more chaos. Calls from numbers I didn't recognize, people from her community demanding I fix the situation. Some guy named Mark, who turned out to be the Americanized name of the boyfriend she was planning to leave me for, who told me I was ruining her life, and I needed to take responsibility as a husband. And I swear the irony almost made me choke, because responsibility was something she never gave me the chance to expect from her. She used me, lied to me, built an entire future plan around disappearing from my life the second she got her passport. And yet, somehow, I was now the villain in the story being spread in their circles. But I didn't argue, didn't scream, Didn't defend myself. I blocked every number, forwarded every message to my lawyer, and kept moving. Her immigration hearing took place 2 weeks later. I didn't go. I didn't need the drama, but my lawyer attended and texted me updates in real time. Rachel showed up with a legal aid attorney. Tried to argue the marriage deteriorated naturally, cried on the stand, but once the judge heard the recording and saw the translated transcript, he cut through the theatrics like a knife through butter. Removal ordered. 30 days to leave voluntarily or be deported. She chose voluntary departure. Honestly, even that surprised me because she always operated from a place of entitlement, like rules didn't apply to her as long as she smiled pretty enough. Her final call came 3 days before she left the country. She spoke softly this time. No yelling, no desperation, just this quiet acceptance that sounded like someone standing in the ruins of a building they insisted was stable right until the roof collapsed. She told me she was sorry. She admitted I didn't deserve what she did. She said the first year of our marriage was real, and she genuinely cared about me. But things changed. She panicked. She made bad decisions. She got involved with someone she shouldn't have. I didn't trust a word of it. Not because she was incapable of telling the truth, but because I no longer cared to dissect which parts might have been real. She asked if I could ever forgive her. I told her, probably not. And that was the most honest answer I've ever given anyone. She left the country 2 weeks later. Her green card officially revoked. Our marriage annulled on the grounds of fraud. My attorney told me my record was spotless, that the government considered me the victim, and that any future marriage sponsorships would simply require extra documentation, which frankly I doubt I'll ever need because I'm not planning to marry anyone anytime soon, especially not someone whose romantic interest depends on paperwork. In the months that followed, I slowly reclaimed my life in ways I didn't even realize I needed. Simple things like rearranging the furniture, repainting the walls, taking trips without explaining myself, cooking meals that I liked instead of adjusting recipes for her preferences. I started running again, seeing friends I neglected, laughing more, sleeping better. I even started dating casually. Nothing serious, but enough to prove to myself that not every relationship has to feel like a ticking time bomb disguised as affection. And every once in a while, someone asks me if I regret any of it. Meeting her, marrying her, helping her build a life she ultimately tried to use as a launching pad out of mine. And the truth is, weirdly, no, I don't regret it. I learned things I needed to learn about trust, about boundaries, about self-worth, about how ignoring intuition is the real danger, and about how people can wear the most convincing mask for years until the moment they don't realize you're listening. And I know she's somewhere overseas now, probably telling everyone I ruined her dreams, painting herself as the tragic heroine in a story where the big bad American husband destroyed her future. But I don't care because I lived the real story, not the edited version she performs for sympathy. And the real story ends like this. I walked away with my integrity, my sanity, my life, and my future intact. She walked away with a one-way ticket home and the realization that the person she underestimated the most turned out to be the one she couldn't outsmart. And honestly, that's the closure I didn't even know I needed.